Welcome to People Doing Good for Others. Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we celebrate and honor, hold in the light those who truly make significant differences in our communities. I'm Gary York, and I want to thank Wilkes Communications and RiverStreet Productions and 100.9 WIFM for this opportunity. My very special guest this morning is Sergeant Alan Lyles. He's an instructor of the Air Force Junior ROTC at Wilkes Central High School. He's a native of Elkin. He spent his first career in the Air National Guard, and most of it in the state of Oregon, where he was in the military police on the F-15 base. And I'm grateful that he can be with me today. And this is going to be a most interesting session for us. So please stay with us, and thank you for being part of People Doing Good for Others. And good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning.
Sergeant Lyles, let's talk about growing up in Elkin, if you will, a little bit. And you told me about you just weren't ready for college and you needed another direction, and you found one that really fit. So let's go from there.
I did. I grew up in Elkin and graduated high school in '92, went to Elkin High School, and have a lot of family that still lives in Elkin, and a lot of deep ties to Elkin. And you're right, as I was getting ready to graduate high school, I found myself just not ready for college. I wasn't, it just wasn't something that I was prepared for. So the military offered me an opportunity to go and do something and to better myself with, to delay college. So I enlisted in the Army in 1992, right after high school. And I was in artillery in the Army and stationed in a couple different places. And did my first enlistment in the Army and got out. And at that time, I joined the National Guard, which paid for my education. So I was able to get a bachelor's degree while I was in the National Guard, and for the most part, it was paid for.
Wow. So let's talk about that journey then to Oregon, if you will. Mm-hmm. Let's give us a little background there.
Well, like I said, I graduated college in Louisiana, and I moved to the West Coast to be closer to my wife's family. My wife's family was in that part of the country, so we moved to Oregon, and I was in the National Guard, like I said, to get through my college, and I went and joined a different unit in the National Guard, an Air National Guard unit that had a full-time mission, and so they offered me a full-time active duty slot, so I took it and ended up retiring from that. Spent another 18 years out there doing security forces, military police work.
So you had how many years of active duty or before you retired?
25 years in the military, 22 active duty.
Okay.
So I was able to spend the last 18 years at the same base, but I deployed quite a bit and had a pretty fulfilling career. I enjoyed it. And
you also shared that almost every F-15 pilot in the Air Force has been to your base. Tell us a little bit about that in and out. Is that the way it was?
It is. It's a base in Southern Oregon that has been there. It was stood up during World War II, and it's a high desert, beautiful area, and they are the only F-15 training base that the Air Force currently has. So every F-15 pilot goes through this base. It's been the only base for approximately 8 years or so.
Okay.
Up to that point, there was 2 bases. Then the active duty shut one down, and this base in Southern Oregon is the only one about the last 8 years. And so a lot of pilots go through there. It's a bustling base. There's a lot going on. It would fool you it's not your typical thought of as an Air National Guard base. It's an active base mindset. And they do a lot of training there, and they fly all the time.
Yeah. Sergeant Lyles, tell us about this decision one day to come back to Elkin.
Well, my as I was getting closer to the end of my career, and like I said, I'm from Elkin, I come home to visit once a year or so, and my wife and I decided we wanted to move to Elkin once I retired. And I wanted to be closer to family, and Elkin's a great area, and we were wanting to finish raising our kids there. I've got 2 out of the house and 1 still in the house. So
then your children's names.
I've got my oldest daughter's Alexa Lyles, she's 21. And I've got an 18-year-old son, Riley Lyles, and a 9-year-old daughter, Katie Lyles.
And Riley is in the military today.
He is. He's about to complete infantry training in Fort Benning, Georgia. And he's going to go to airborne school after that, and he's thinking he's going to be stationed at Fort Bragg. So he's going to be relatively close. But yes, he's in the Army now.
But so far, he really likes it.
He does.
Good.
He watched Band of Brothers years ago, and all he's wanted to do since then is jump out of airplanes. So,
how about that?
Yep, he joined the Army as an infantryman and is getting ready to go through airborne school.
Wow. I had the honor of working with him with his senior project on the trails there in Elkin, and really like Riley. He's a wonderful, has a presence that you just want to be with him.
Agree.
Yeah,
he's a very
good guy. Yeah. And I worked with your dad, Philip, for years, and that was a great experience too. So how did it come about that you would become working in your second career you talked about with this wonderful Air Force Junior ROTC now, but how did that happen that you heard about it?
Well, to be honest with you, I kind of stumbled into it. When I retired from the Air Force, I moved home, and I'd planned on doing a commercial business. And as I was getting into that, I decided that it wasn't for me, and I changed directions and fell into this opportunity as a junior ROTC instructor. I didn't know a whole lot about it. My high school didn't have it, so I seen this opportunity and started researching it, and it's turned out to be a really good fit.
Yeah. So tell us about the mission and the philosophy, and just kind of frame, Sergeant, if you will, what is Junior ROTC? What is it? What's the mission?
Okay. Junior ROTC is an elective in a high school, so the high school treats it as an elective, just like shop or PE or any other elective. It's an elective class. And its mission is to build citizens of character. It uses 2 military retirees. You have to be retired, and there's an officer and an enlisted. I'm the enlisted instructor. So there's 2 instructors, and we have cadets. We call them cadets that take our class, and we use some military training models, and we use some military techniques in a classroom environment to build better citizens. The whole point to it is to build citizens of character. That's our motto. So we're not military recruiters. We're not necessarily training our future military officers. We're just using military training techniques and in a non-traditional teacher setting to help instill some character and discipline in our high school students.
All right, let's talk about some of the specific opportunities for the youngsters will have if they could stay 4 years or 1 year or 2 years, or just some of those basic skills that they can take away by being in Air Force Junior ROTC.
Well, first of all, the program is led by cadets. And what I mean by that is all the things that we do are led and organized by students. The 2 instructors, we're there to supervise and to make sure it's going in the direction that it needs to go, but it's led by cadets, which is vital. To give the students an opportunity to lead. This is one of the programs that if you're wanting to develop leadership and if you're wanting to develop self-confidence, we're ideal at that. So what we do is we take students and we train them in, for example, how to wear the uniform, which sounds simple on the surface, but there's a lot of self-discipline and a lot of preparation that goes into wearing a uniform. Right now, the students at the school right now are doing a uniform inspection today because they're wearing their uniform. And today, right, as I speak. and another student is grading them on the placement of their name tags, whether or not they've got their shoes shined, whether or not they're in the correct uniform. And to an adult, that may sound kind of easy, but there's a lot of,
Dress code.
dress codes.
Gotcha.
And a lot of specifics, and they have to follow that, and it's tied into their grade. So we attach a grade to that. So by complying with the regulation on how to wear your uniform, they're learning leadership, they're learning followership, and they're learning things that hopefully will pay off for them in the future.
And some of the challenges I ask about is the youngster will, when he accomplishes or has a win, then he gets to display that. Tell us about that, Sergeant.
We have several ways that the students can display their successes, so to speak, their accomplishments on their uniform. If they do a certain number of community service hours, they get a community service ribbon, and they get to wear that on their uniform. And again, they take a lot of pride in displaying.
Now, this is a youngster who's had has no idea about community service when he comes to you, but if he learns to do that by being able to display it. Is that something like that?
Yes, and some students do. The Boy Scouts that we have, they're used to community service, but some are not. If they're not involved in Scouts or maybe some church programs or something, the large majority of them, you're right, do not have much community service background. Well, some of them do, especially like the Scouts and stuff. They do quite a bit of community service. But yes, we give them an incentive to volunteer for different community service projects. Or to excel in other areas like rank. If they want to promote and wear a rank on their collar, then they can do some community service. They take a test, get some recommendations from their teachers, and then they can promote up through the ranks. And they have cadet ranks that are very similar to the Air Force ranks.
Wow.
And the students love stuff on their uniforms. They call it bling. They love
bling.
They love the bling on their uniform. They like the ribbons and the different ranks.
So it's kind of a pride thing, status, if you will.
It is.
Rank.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it means a lot to the students. They want to display their successes, and a uniform is not an awesome way of doing that. It's a good incentive for the students.
Wow. Tell us about your partner, the colonel that you work together. Tell us a little about him.
His name is Lieutenant Colonel Rick Sapp. He's a native of Winston-Salem. He grew up in Winston, and he was a Air Force weather officer. He was on active duty, I believe, like 22 years. It's kind of ironic, me and him are the exact same age. We're like 5 days apart. Graduated high school, been married within just a couple of years of the same week.
Wow.
It's kind of ironic. We didn't know each other till this, but he's brand new, well, not brand new. He's been out of the military for about 2 years. We've both been teaching about the same amount of time, so we're both relatively new from the military, new retirees. So he's he teaches aerospace science. The junior RTC teaches 3 topics. And the officer typically teaches aerospace science, which is study of weather, the study of flight, what makes how airplanes fly.
Oh my goodness.
Atmospheric conditions, things like that. And him being a weather officer, that's comes natural to him. And then I teach leadership education, which is obviously leadership goal-minded. So we're doing drill and ceremony. I teach them how to wear the uniform. I teach them how to tie ties. Just a couple days ago, we had a tie tying class, and every boys and girls, all of them, were taught how to tie their ties. And some of the girls will ask, "Well, why do I have to tie a tie?" I don't wear it because they have a different tie. That's the females have a different tie, but we have them do it anyway because you never know. You can teach your son someday how to tie a tie.
So we want to emphasize that it's not a military drill class, but we use some of the models that you brought with you.
Yes, we do some drill, marching and drill, and we call it drill and ceremony, and it's not to turn them into super troopers or anything. It's to use drill and ceremony and an attempt to teach them discipline, teamwork. It takes teamwork. So the one student will lead 9 to 12 other students in what we call a 30-step movement. And it takes a lot of teamwork. It takes a lot of attention to detail, to marching is something that is very detail-oriented. And by the end of their first year, they're not only performing the 30-step movement, they're leading the 30-step movement. So it's pretty impressive to watch from the first of the school year with a student who has never taken our classes before, doesn't know anything, to the end of that first year, they're typically leading it.
Wow.
So there's a pretty steep growth.
Now, physical fitness is a vital part of it too, and we do some of that in competitions. Tell us how that works.
It is every Friday, 1 day a week we do physical fitness. We do it on Fridays, and again, it's student-led, so we take a student that is interested in fitness for each class, and they lead that class in fitness. And we do a fitness test at the beginning of the semester, and we take one at the end of the semester, so we then compare it and see how the student how they increase their run, how they increase their push-ups and sit-ups.
Wow.
It's funny when we take, we ask questions at the beginning of the semester. We have the students fill out a form, what they want to get out of this class this semester, what's their expectations. And almost all of them will say one of their goals is to increase fitness.
Really?
So I have to remind them of that sometimes. Sometimes they forget that. But that's something that I always surprised at, is how many of them want to increase their fitness.
Yeah. Sergeant Alan Lyles, and you have class sizes. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. We have Wilkes Central's in an hour and a half, four classes a day, 4 periods. Each period's an hour and a half, and we have 3 classes, and they range from 12 to 18 students. And
The total group size, the youngsters involved in junior ROTC?
This semester we're at 45.
45.
We have had some students from West Wilkes travel. We have a student this semester who's from West Wilkes High School taking our class. His parents bring them, his parents pick him up. And,
Something you wanted to do.
Yes.
And willing to come across the county to have it.
Same school district, so it's easy, but that high school didn't have a junior ROTC program. So
Right.
his parents are willing to drive him every day.
Wow.
That's nice.
You talked about the flag and life lessons. Tell us about that.
Underneath the leadership education topic, we do teach a lot of flag. I just finished a lesson on flag customs and courtesies, how to fold the flag. Every one of the students this semester is tasked with being able to fold the American flag, and how to react if you're at a football game and the national anthem comes on, and just some basic citizen skills.
My goodness.
But we do a lot of flag raising and flag lowering ceremony every Wednesday when we're in uniform. First and fourth period. First period puts the flag up. Fourth period goes out. The whole class goes out and brings the flag down, folds it up. And
Wow.
so we do quite a few honor guard. We have an honor guard group that's of about.
That's a very selective group. That's the best you have of marching and.
It is, and it's also one of our larger groups. Is like for our homecoming, for example, we're going to use about 18, which is about every one of them. So we put on a homecoming at the homecoming halftime at the football game. We do an arch that the attendees walk under, and it takes a lot of students for that. But yes, we have an honor guard, and they do a lot of probably in the county one of the more higher demand honor guards. We do a lot of different activities. We support the Brushy Mountain Rotary Club for Veterans Day.
Yeah.
That's
coming up pretty soon, isn't it? This weekend?
The Apple Festival is this weekend.
Yeah, first Saturday in October.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's one of our community service avenues, is the Brushy Mountain Rotary Club gets us to help out downtown. Thursday night we'll be down there marking parking spots and setting up for the Apple Festival.
My word. Mm-hmm. And then so you do the VFW ceremonies.
We do, yeah, get
Veterans
back
Day
to the Honor Guard, yes. For Veterans Day, we do, this Veterans Day, I believe we have 5 Honor Guards scheduled. The Elkin VFW.
In one day?
No, over a span of 3.
Okay, but you do it 5 times.
I think with this semester we've got, for Veterans Day, we were doing 2 different schools, and Elkin's VFW is having a ceremony and we're also doing a Brushy Mountain Rotan Club's having something here in town on a Sunday that we're supporting as well.
Good.
So our kids are active. They're even on the weekends. It seems like every weekend we've got something.
Lots of opportunity. Public speaking even. Let's talk about that.
We do. One of our goals is to get students out of their comfort zones and get them into doing things that they may not necessarily want to do, but that is beneficial to them. And one of those is public speaking. We do different events that, some that we attach grades to, some that we don't, where we get the kids up and get them somewhat used to talking in front of at least their peers.
How about that? So some of the opportunities to speak will be planned, and some kind of just ready to go, jump up and.
Yes, we do plan some, and some of it's built into the drill and ceremony because they have to lead in front of a group of people, so that's basically public speaking.
Right.
But we also have impromptu topics too that I always have in my desk. If we have time to kill, I'll go and get those, and if we get 6 minutes at the end of a class with nothing to do, we'll pick a student to talk about some topic, and he or she will.
And as time goes on, they become more at ease and more confident and willing to.
Yes, that's the goal, and it usually pays off. I mean, some students really get into it, and they'll ask us to do it. They enjoy it. And,
ask you to do it?
They sure do. Some of them do.
How about that? So you see life-changing experiences every day in your career right now?
Yeah, not to be overly dramatic,
you see kids
but
that come in that just maybe need a little encouragement, and all of a sudden they catch fire. Would you something like that? Yes,
and the colonel that I work with and I both, we really tried to make ourselves available to the students to where they're comfortable coming in and talking to us. High school's a stressful place, and I'm sure it was stressful when I was in it too, but it was one of the surprises of getting into this career is working with high school students. They have a lot of stress. And so we try to make ourselves approachable, and we try to make ourselves
your mentor.
Exactly. To where and they do. They respond to that. They come to us and they talk to us about some stuff that you just won't believe, and then other stuff that I've seen that before, and we can help them out where we can. Try to mentor them.
And men and women, the percentage. Tell us a little about that.
We're about 50-50. We have. Probably right at about 50% female and 50% male. A lot of people think it's all a male thing.
Well, how many, Sergeant Lyles, say if you have 40, how many of those 40 are military led already? They say that's where I'm going after here.
A lot of them will say that. We have quite a few of them that'll tell us that they want to go into the military, but it seems like about 8 to 10% are actually talking to a recruiter and going anywhere with it. That's just from my limited experience. So we're getting some enlist or to be interested in ROTC in the colleges and stuff, but it's not much higher than the rest of the high school population probably.
Tell us about your Riley and the pay grade and all that, by being active in the junior ROTC, the benefits of it.
There is a monetary benefit if you take at least 4 semesters of junior ROTC. If you enlist into the military, you do get to enlist at a higher rank. So my son took advantage of that. He went in as an E2. So right off the bat, he was making, I think, about $250 a month more.
More?
Approximately more.
How about that? Yep. And he'd been in it 4 years. Is that right?
I think he took 6 semesters.
Okay, all right.
And I believe 4 is the minimum to be able to go in as an elevated rank.
You have some youngsters help out with funding, raising money.
We do.
Some of those opportunities, if you will, Sergeant Lyles.
We do. The Air Force gives us money for uniforms and stuff like that for the students. The students don't have to pay for their uniforms. The Air Force funds that. And they give us some money for field trips and paying for mileage and stuff to get places that we want to go. But we also need other funding avenues. So the students do different avenues for sales and different things to try to bring in more money, because we want to do more than what our we want to do as much as we can.
Sure.
So we do candy sales, we do different fundraising that tries to bring in more money for additional field trips and things like that. Summer camps.
Yeah. Talk about that. I was so intrigued by the learning about summer camp.
So for the last 2 summers, I've taken cadets to Camp Ginger Cascades in Lenoir. There's a Girl Scouts camp in Lenoir that they let us use their property for a junior OTC summer leadership camp. And it's a week long, and we're out in the woods with the kids all week. We're sleeping in buildings, but it's a pretty austere environment. And during that week, the kids are learning how to do canoeing, archery, they're map reading and navigation, but they're also learning marching, and they have a lot of competitions. And they are, again, it's all student-led, so the students are in charge of themselves, basically. Yes, we're there to supervise and to make sure they don't do anything they shouldn't, but they have their student leadership. And at the end of the week, they typically are not ready to go home. They love it.
How about that?
It's a good time.
So the teamwork, the bonding, it starts, no one knows anyone maybe on Monday, and then by the end of the week they have new friends. And
correct. And there's students from all over Eastern North
all
Carolina, Tennessee. The students come. There's about 125 this summer, and they're from all over the state, and even Tennessee and Virginia. And by the end of the week, they're having a great time.
Good.
And we're able to do that through some outside funding. Both the North Wilkesboro and Elkin VFW both gives us some money that we can put towards the camp. The camp has a fee, and through these monetary donations, we're able to cut that down to where the student doesn't have to pay very much.
Yeah.
So for that week long, they have 3 meals a day and all this training, and it costs them not a whole lot. So that's able to get us to have more students to go.
So you did an activity at Kerscott?
We did. Just last weekend was a National Public Lands Day. So we had 12 students, 12 junior OTC students that volunteered, and we went out and worked 4 hours last Saturday morning around the visitor center. Looks good there.
Good.
A lot of landscaping.
So you do things where, if I understand it, that the youngsters can see achievement pretty easily. I mean, they accomplish things or have goals, a lot of goal setting, and we're coming close to the end, and I want to thank our sponsors, Wilkes Communications, RiverStreet, and WIFM, and especially for you. What a learning experience for me to be able to be with you. So just kind of tell us about, you have a military part, a vital part of your life, and now in your second career, you're into being a teacher, being a mentor, being a role model for these kids. How about gratitude? Some things that you're basically, I think you're a happy man, and I can see being part of the junior ROTC is part of that. So share with us a little bit.
I am definitely blessed, for sure. I have a lot to be thankful for. The military was an awesome career for me. I was able to go to some really unique places and travel and be a part of some pretty cool things. And to be able to retire from that and to use some of those experiences and to kind of stay in that environment in a high school setting has been really intriguing for me. I really enjoy this. An excellent fit for me. So to be able to continue service, except now I'm serving high school students, has been very gratifying.
So all of these, this first career, the experiences, you can pull it together and by example, you can share with youngsters the values that you've been able to accumulate over the years, and you're giving it to them in a special way.
Trying to, and this atmosphere of building better citizens of character, or to build citizens of character, is something I believe
Yeah, you believe in
wholeheartedly
it. Yeah.
the future of our country, and it's just trying to do the part to make it as good as we can.
Before we finish, I want you to share about the prom dresses.
We do a military ball
Yeah.
through Wilkes Central, and we give the option for the ladies, the students, the female students, if they want to wear a prom dress instead of their uniform during these military balls, they can. And kind of something that we've developed is we've got about 18 prom dresses now that we sign out, that I have in the back of my logistics area, that I can issue out to these female students, so that when they go to this military ball, they don't have to wear their uniform. So my oldest daughter, Alexa, was into the pageant in high school, so she'd done this even some after high school. She was competing in pageants. And so when I got into this and seen that not very many of these students had opportunities to wear anything other than their uniform to this military ball, I asked my oldest daughter if she had any pageant dresses, and she went to her work and gathered up some from other coworkers, and I've got 18 of them now. So I'm in the prom dress business
So
now.
if a youngster maybe doesn't have one, you can let them have one for a night.
Mm-hmm.
How about
Doesn't
that?
charge them we don't charge them anything. We just ask them to dry clean it and bring it back, and that's been surprisingly successful. That's something that I didn't plan on getting into, but it's worked out really well.
The Air Force Junior ROTC to me means giving and sharing and caring, and just folks being a team. I like that as many times as you've used being part of the team. Thank you very much,
Well, thank you.
Sergeant
Thank you for
Lyles.
inviting me.
Gary York, People Doing Good for Others. Sergeant Alan Lyles, the Wilkes Central Air Force Junior ROTC instructor, and a person who's a wonderful experience in his military career, and he's bringing it to these youngsters and learning discipline and learning courage and confidence, and what a wonderful day for us. So thank you for being with us, and see you next time. Thank you.